All right, everybody, welcome back. We have another interview with a grad from MGS Trade School. This is really important to us because at MGS Trade School, we always keep the student first, always. I do have Ted Z with us. Ted, you graduated this year, in August of this year, and did you go advanced 2, basic? Which one did you take?
I did the advanced 2.
And tell us a little bit about you, your background, how you got into the whole gunsmithing world, how you found us, kind of what got you started. Tell us your background, kind of what got you started on your gunsmithing journey.
I retired from the military, did 26 years in the Army, and while I was in the Army, I was assigned to a unit that didn't use my particular job. So they assigned me as the unit armor. And I worked as the unit armor for a while, and that kind of started my intrigue about working on guns, because I'd actually had to work on a few of our different M16, 60 cals, things like that, and I learned how to do that. Finished out my career in the military. Still enjoyed working on guns. I did a lot on my own. I went to the Glock Armor course. I'm a law enforcement officer now. I became a range master and range safety for my department, and ended up, the department sent me to a certification course to be certified in AR-15 there and M16 for repairs. And I thought, man, this is a great career. I love doing this. It's fun. Let me look into gunsmithing. So then I started searching around. I found a few different schools. And the thing that kind of pushed me more towards MGS was when I was looking at some of the schools, a lot of them didn't accept my GI Bill. And it's expensive to go. And when you're a working person, dollars and cents matter. And I came across MGS and I saw that they were accredited through the VA and I could use my GI Bill. And I'd done some research on different schools and read some reviews, and MGS always had great reviews from everybody that I'd read about. So that's when I contacted the school and started my enrollment process.
How did you hear about us?
It popped up on my Facebook because I had looked up gunsmithing, and MGS popped up on my Facebook, and I said, hey, let me check this one out. And like I said, that's when I started doing my research.
Nice. Shannon's going to love hearing that.
Oh yeah, that's where I found it, was through Facebook. And it was cool because it was like everything I needed to know was right there. When I clicked on the website, any question I had, the answer was right there.
That's one thing I love about our school. And if we had it the way some of the other online schools had it, when I came on board, I would have fixed it quick. But we already had it that way. It drives me nuts when in the past I've looked at taking some online courses. And you Google it, you find the course, you click it, and then you go to their website, and they won't tell you anything until you submit your email, your phone number, all this. And I'm like, no. I want to know how much it costs, how much, time I have to invest, and, a little bit more before I give you any of my information. And that drove me nuts. And they wouldn't tell you anything, So I'm like, I loved when I first saw our website, when I first came on board, that we were completely transparent right from the get-go. It's going to take you this long to take it. Oh, here's a list of all your courses and all the projects and everything else you'll take. Here's the tools that you'll get. Here's the tools you'll get when you graduate. Oh, and by the way, here's the cost. And if you can't afford a lump sum up front, here's a no interest payment plan. Not student loans. It's a no interest payment plan, or in your case, VR, GI Bill, VA approved. So I'm glad to hear that was a bonus or a plus for you and a positive, because I think it's really important to me. And it's really important to a lot of our potential students that we can be totally transparent up front.
Yeah, like I said, there was no questions. It was like everything was right there, and it made it easy.
What do you think the most valuable lesson you learned in the entire course was?
Most valuable. I would have to say it had to do with, I can't remember what project it was, but it was the metal soldering.
Yes.
That one beat me.
It's the most hated project.
Yeah, I'm kidding, because I did it and it wasn't right, and I had to take it all apart, restart. Still didn't. I think I did it like 3 times before I finally got it to where I was like, okay, this is good, man. This is what you got to do this. And I was happy because then once I cleaned it all up and I submitted it, I sat there with my fingers crossed, going, okay, I'm waiting for a success grade so I can move on to the next thing. And, luckily enough, after 3 tries, I did succeed doing it the right way and sending it in.
Nice. That is the most complained about project. But what's funny is once people figure it out, it's the same thing. They're like, oh, I'm so glad I learned that, because most people learn to solder on, a computer motherboard or something where you just kind of heat it up, the solder heats up, melts, and it's easy. It's done,
Yeah.
Soldering two pieces of metal together is tough. You have to get it just right. You have to get it clean. You have to use flux. The angles have to be right. There's so much you have to do right. And then once you get it, and let me ask you this, once you got it, you could do it tomorrow in like 10 minutes, right?
Oh yeah. I've got in my workshop here, I've got it set up to where if I have to do that again, I've got exactly how it's got to sit. I know how much I got to heat it. I know how much flux to use, everything. So it's like, yeah, I could put two pieces of metal together pretty quick now.
Yeah, it's one of those things where once it clicks, you got it. But leading up to it might take a little bit more. What's something that you learned through the program that you have utilized a lot doing the work that you're doing?
I think there's two different things. One of them was I've literally worked on a gun that I never saw. It was a really weird gun. It's a 22 semi-auto rifle with a 100-round magazine that my boss had, and said the trigger doesn't work. And I was like, okay. And I'd never seen this. I think it's what's called a Calco M100.
Okay.
Like I said, it looks kind of like an M16, but has this weird tube magazine on top that holds 100 rounds. And
I know exactly what you're talking about now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was taking the trigger mechanism apart, and I'm looking at it, and I had never seen a trigger like that before. So it was really good because learning the stuff in the class of checking all the different parts and knowing how you took it apart helped me out when it was time to put it all back together after I cleaned it. I didn't have to sit there and look at a bunch of parts and go, I'm not sure. I was able to go, okay, yeah, this part went here, this part went.
Did you say it was a Calico?
Yeah, Calco, Calico, I think.
Ooh, those are worth some money.
Yeah, they are. He had one. I did a refurbish on it.
It didn't register at first. I think I heard Calco, like Talco. And then when you said the tube magazine on top, I'm like, did he just say a Calico? Oh, wow.
Yep, Calco M100.
They look like a Star Wars gun. If you get a chance, go Google one. And they look like something out of Star Wars. It's kind of crazy, but they're pretty cool, and they are very rare, and they are worth some cash. So, that's exciting to me, right? Because this is someone that trusted you enough with a very valuable, rare gun with your skills. And I know you had the skills from armors courses, military, but you took this course and you were confident enough to go in and work on it. So that's cool to me. That kind of makes me excited.
And the funny thing was, he didn't even realize how much it's worth till I told him. It was just a gun. Yeah, it's just a gun he's had. His dad bought it for him when he was like 16 years old. And he's had it in a gun safe. Didn't know what to do with it. He thought the trigger was just destroyed. I fixed everything, brought it back to him. I said, this is how much this is worth, and it all works now. I've shot 30 rounds through it. It's fine. And yeah. He's extremely happy.
That's one of those that, one of my favorite gun stories where people didn't know what they had. I knew a guy that would go into Mexico and antique, and he would buy antiques, and then he'd come back to the States and sell them for a profit. And he went into a house and had a bag of, you always hear the stories of the bag of gun parts. Here's a parts in a bag, put it together, and you got a gun. He brought it back to the States, had it put back together, and when he went to pick it up, the guy was like, I can't let you go without letting you know what you had. He got it for $100. He had a Colt Walker.
Oof.
It is, and here's the funny thing about the Colt Walker. It's a very valuable gun. I think they go upwards of $1 million for good condition ones. But it's a horrible gun. Like, functionality was not great. It was just they didn't make a whole lot of them, so they're very rare. And this is from the old Western days. But yeah, he had a Colt Walker. And the sad part of this story, he goes, yeah, he ended up offering me $10,000 for it, and I took it. And I'm like, oh. You could have bought a house for. Oh, it was one of those moments. Just didn't know what he had, but I mean, he was happy. He turned $100 into $10,000. He just didn't realize he could have turned it into $500,000 or something.
Yeah,
What project? What were you most proud of when you finished it?
I think it was the making of a tool from scrap pieces.
Yep.
Actually being able to, you looked at the diagram, you read what the angles and stuff were, breaking out your angle device and, getting the right angle and then shaving it down to where it's got the perfect angle on the tip and like, oh, wow, man, I just made a tool that could be used to work on a gun. You're like, I didn't know I could do that.
You walk into any gunsmith shop where it's somebody that, and let me clarify too, in these modern days, you got a lot of shops that'll say, oh yeah, we got a gunsmith, and you start grilling the gunsmith and all he does is build ARs. That's not gunsmithing, that's rifle building. But you walk into any true gunsmith shop where they can work on anything you bring to them. They have got buckets of hand tools that they made themselves. Skip, he is our staff gunsmith, our staff master gunsmith. You go to his shop, he's got a wall of all these hand tools that he fabricated himself because there's so many old guns. And let's face it, when you become a gunsmith, you'll work on three main things. Somebody who just bought a gun and just got into guns and has no idea what to do with it. They'll bring it in to you to clean it because they don't want to clean it. You work on hunting rifles, high-end hunting rifles, and mostly cleaning them because people want to spend $10,000, $15,000 on a hunting rifle, but they don't want to take the time to clean it after the season's over. That's always blown my mind. And then you're going to work on all these old guns that are hand-me-downs and heirlooms and, inherited in some way, shape, or form, or even bought at a shop that, they found a great deal on it and they want to get a gunsmith to work on it. Most of those old guns, well, not most, but a lot of those old guns, their tools are gone. You can't just go on Brownells or Midway USA or anything like that and order the tools for that gun. So what we do is we teach you how to fabricate those tools, and we use an old out of manufacturing Ruger revolver tool that you can't get anymore, and that's what you learn to make with us. But that's cool because that is a consistent answer for that question that we get a lot. How do you feel that what you learned at MGS is going to help you? Well, one, do you feel like it'll help you navigate the firearms industry and working with industry, and how do you think it's going to help lead to those goals in the firearms industry?
I'm sure it's going to, because it already has. This is where I'm at right now, is my little workshop I've got. It's a small building off the back of my house. I run a mom and pop business out of my property. I've already got my FFL, which I got due to MGS. They helped me out with FFL 123. I read it, knocked it out, submitted it, got approved first go around, didn't even have any problems with the ATF. Got my state business license, my tax license and everything. So I started my own little business, and I'm actually working with wholesalers to be able to buy guns directly from the wholesaler and resell them to a lot of times my friends and stuff. They all found out what I'm doing, and they're like, oh, hey, can you get me this shotgun? So I can actually contact them.
That is cool. What kind of challenges have you faced since graduation, and how have you overcome them? And any of those challenges did you overcome with something you learned with us?
I would say I've been pretty lucky with starting my business. I haven't really hit any major challenges yet. I'm sure there's going to be some coming up. Anytime you start a business and you're an independent sole proprietor, you're going to have issues. But a lot of the stuff that was in MGS and the training we did, as far as, starting your own business and things like that, I kind of mirrored a lot of what I did based on that. And like I said, I've been lucky enough, I haven't run into any major challenges yet. Getting my state business license, my county business license, my FFL, everything went super smooth because I followed the directions I learned through the course.
Our curriculum has been around for a long time. The school, Modern Gun School, has been in existence since 1946. It has changed, it has molded. We've had to add modern stuff. I believe it was around 2010, 2012 that it went to an online model, and we've tweaked it. I mean, we hear stuff all the time. Hey, this is wrong, and we'll go and we'll verify if it's wrong or right. And if it's right, we'll say, hey, look, this is what we did. We found this. If it's wrong, we'll correct it. We want to make sure we have the right stuff. But instructions on there. We want to make sure that they're easy to follow and anybody can pick them up, read them, listen to them, whatever, and get through the project. So it's good to hear that from you. What changes have you noticed in the industry? I know you just graduated in August, but it sounds like you've done a lot in the gun world, whether it's through the military or law enforcement. What changes have you seen in the firearms industry?
It's a lot of that people don't understand the importance of the maintenance on the weapons. They're so used to these guns, like, and I'm not bad mouthing anybody because I'm a big advocate of Glock, but Glocks are made to just go. You can just run those things forever and not have a problem. You can shoot 1,000 rounds through them, not clean it, load it up the next day and fire it again. It's going to work good. And the change is, a lot of people don't realize those guns all still need to be cleaned, like you were saying. That's the biggest thing, is cleaning. And what will happen is they'll start complaining, this type of gun's no good, don't buy them from this dealer. And it's not the gun, it's the actual person not doing the maintenance. And that's the biggest change, because you knew with the older guns, like the old Berettas and stuff, because in the military, that's what we carried, was the old Berettas. You literally went to the range, you had to clean it as soon as you were done from the range. And sometimes you might have to clean it after one magazine, because everybody knew that it was going to get clogged up and it wasn't going to fire. And that's the biggest change, is a lot of the guns coming out now, you can probably run 1,000 rounds through them without cleaning them. So that's I think the biggest change is the functionality of the weapons. It's easier to run one for a long period of time without cleaning.
Yeah, my Glock 19, I put it through the ringer one year, and I wanted to see how many rounds I could put through it before I felt like, okay, this thing needs to be clean. I got up to 5,000, and it wasn't having any issues, but I cleaned it then. It was just kind of like, okay, 5,000. It was nasty looking. It was kind of like, okay, I'm just doing this for my own personal aesthetic feel. But yeah, Glocks will run. And one thing a lot of people don't know about Glocks is you can over lubricate them after you clean them. If you go to the owner's manual, you will see, okay, you need a drop here, a drop here, a drop here, all kinds of different things that you have to do to make sure you don't over lubricate. I learned that the hard way. I was at a class in Camden, Tennessee, James Yeager's training course, and I cleaned my gun before the training, and I over lubricated it. So I was having all these weird malfunctions, and he goes, "Oh, I know exactly what you did." And if anybody knows James Yeager, it wasn't like, "Oh, hey, come here, buddy." It was intense. He's like, "I'm going to use you to teach a lesson," and he did. And he wasn't mean. He was very kind about it. But it was funny, and he showed everybody, hey, look, you can absolutely over lubricate a Glock, and this is where he did it. And he opened it up, and sure enough, I just went to town spraying and wiping and everything else, and it had a couple malfunctions. So that's one thing a lot of people don't realize about it. But yeah, I agree. The more modern weapons come out, yes, the maintenance is lower and lower and lower because technology gets better and better and better, coatings or whatever else. But you as a gunsmith have to learn that, because if some new coating comes out that you can't use, I love Ballistol, don't take this the wrong way, but let's say you can't use Ballistol on this new coating, right? Well, you need to know that as a gunsmith, because if your favorite CLP is Ballistol, and you start cleaning this new thing and all of a sudden the coating just starts melting off because of whatever reason, that's something you have to keep informed on. Gosh, wow, my brain didn't work there. And it's something us as a school, we keep up with that stuff too. If something new comes out, I'm like, okay, is there anything we need to know about this to make sure our students understand it? So have any of your projects that you did with us, did any of them like pave the way to an opportunity as a gunsmith? I know it's been a short time since you graduated, but have you seen, or even while you were doing the project, was there something you're like, ooh, I could utilize this way and benefit me in my life?
Yeah, the first project, the gun stock, my dad was a carpenter, so I've done woodwork before, but doing that stock, it's like, you got to be really careful because it's got certain moldings on it. If you sand too much, you change the whole configuration of that gun stock. And while I was doing that, I had one of my buddies telling me, I got my grandpa's gun. I don't know what to do with it. It's kind of beat up. And I was like, wait a minute. And I took a picture of the one I had done, because I took a picture of all my projects. And I said, hey, look. And he was like, dude, when you're done, I want you to redo my grandfather's gun that I got. So
that's awesome.
It paved the way to doing something that was not in the realm of what I wanted to do. I wasn't so much into, redoing stocks and everything. I wanted to do more of the repair of actual weapons. But because of that and him seeing it, he's a really good friend of mine, I was like, okay, I'll redo your grandfather's stock. And matter of fact, I think he's supposed to give it to me next week. I told him, I said, you got to wait till I graduate and get everything done, because I'm busy doing the schoolwork. I don't want to start a project while I'm doing the schoolwork. I said, I've got enough projects to do through the school.
That's one of those things that, I've gone through our curriculum. I've done the projects myself. I am not steady-handed, and it scares me to work on anybody's heirloom, right? Yeah, it's just me personally, not anybody else. But it's one of those things where it's like, I could probably handle that stock. I could probably handle working on that trigger, but I am scared to do it because, golly, this has been handed down through 3 generations, kind of thing. But most people that go through our course, they feel confident doing it. It's just me personally. I'm clumsy. Let's just be honest. I am a clumsy individual. I would drop a file or something into the stock, and it would gouge it 2 inches deep in my life.
I think the only reason I feel comfortable pretty much doing it is I do have that experience with my father being a carpenter, and I've done a lot of stuff with him. And then seeing what I was able to do with the stock that MGS sent me, I was like, oh, I think I can do this. Heck yeah, I'll give it a shot, man. I'll do it for you.
And it's something so cool because we send out an M1 Garand stock. A lot of people just think, oh, you just send out a piece of wood and they refin it. No, we send out a genuine M1 Garand stock. And we even, once the students are finished, if they want to keep it, we offer them opportunity to buy it for a very, very, very inexpensive price. And then you could go and buy all the parts and build yourself an M1 Garand for half the cost you pay for it off the shelf. We've already talked about how MGS kind of helped you meet your goals and what you wanted to do to become a gunsmith. What advice, well, I'll break this into 2 questions. I'll ask the first question first. What advice would you give incoming students on MGS?
It's MGS is very straightforward. I mean, what you need, and like I said, when I called the school, when there were questions I had, I could call the school. If it wasn't already posted on the website, my answer, I could always call the school, and I always got somebody on the phone. And if they didn't know the answer, they patched me through to somebody that did. And I never had to wonder, well, I'm gonna wait 3 days for them to call me back. It was taken care of right there at school. As far as advice to new students coming in, I would say definitely read what's on MGS. Look at the 3 different courses that's offered. Find out what's going to suit what you want to do, and then take that course. And if you don't know much about guns and you want to start small, take the basic course. And then if you go, oh, I really like this, I think I could do it, then move up the courses. I think the reason I jumped to the level 2 right away was because of my background. I did have knowledge of guns, and I worked on gun stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to start basic because I've already done that. Let me just go to the top. And that's why I went with the level 2.
And it's one of those things where we get, one of the biggest questions we get from prospective students is, well, if I take basic, how long before I can take advanced, and then how long before I take advanced 2? And we have to clarify, hey, there are 3 different courses. You don't have to take one to take the other to take the other. You just pick which one you want to do. And the examples I give, basic is you're already working in the gun industry. Let's say you're an accountant and you want to get a little bit more hands-on involved with the gun process. You want that certificate behind your name. You're in the gun industry. Or, you're an accountant at a toothpaste factory, right? And you love guns and you're like, that's it. I want to dip my toes in the water, kind of see what this would be like, get a little bit of education, learn a bit more about guns and gun repair and maintenance. That's what basic is. Advanced is, I want to be a gunsmith. I know what I want to do. I want to do it. I already have a lot of the tools, I know how to build a rifle, but I want the education base and that certificate with all the core curriculum all wrapped into one. And also, not necessarily you may not have the tools, but let's say you've got a job lined up at a shop, or you already work at a shop and you can use their tools, et cetera, et cetera. Advanced 2 is the same as advanced as far as curriculum wise, except we add a build at the end. And when you graduate, you get a big pallet of tools. And I kind of think of that as our entrepreneurial route, right? That's where you get all the knowledge base that you get in the other two, but you also learn to build a rifle, because a lot of gunsmiths make good money building firearms for people. But then you also get those tools you need that can help you start your own shop in your house, or even go to a shop that doesn't have gunsmithing. Like if you go to a gun retail store and they don't have a gunsmith there, you can walk in with this big old stack of tools and go, "Hey, I can be your gunsmith. Here's what I'm going to charge. I've already got the tools I need. Let's rock and roll." So that's kind of what I lay out for people with those. What is your advice for prospective students, not an incoming student or a student already? What is your advice for someone who's looking at MGS and other schools and they just can't decide?
Do your research, look at the different schools like I did. Some of the schools, it's not so much you're getting I've got my diploma back here. It's an actual diploma from a trade school that I'm a gunsmith. Some of the other schools, they give you like just a little certificate that you completed this, or certificates you completed that. With MGS, I got everything in one certificate. It was, here I am, I'm a gunsmith. I've got the certificate. I didn't have to get 15 different certificates in this and one in this and one in this, because if you're going to have your own shop or something, I mean, I'm kind of like a proud guy. I post my stuff on the wall. So if somebody comes into my shop and I'm working on their gun or whatever, they're going to see on the wall, my FFL's on the wall, my certificate from Modern Gun School. I've got my Glock armor certificate. I've got my AR certification certificate. I want to show that, hey, I'm not just a guy that said I know what I'm doing. I've been trained. I've got the education. Here's my proof. So, I mean, kind of like a doctor. A doctor posts up their diploma from Harvard or whatever medical school they went to. Well, I did the same thing with my certificate.
And people, you're dealing with people that are bringing you tools that can cost, thousands of dollars sometimes. Some rifles, you go up in the Barretts, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars.
Oh, yeah.
And if they walk into your garage and you don't have a single certificate, license, nothing, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I'll work on that $20,000 rifle for you," and they're going to look around and go, "Yeah, no thanks."
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
It's something. Yeah, it's a smart way to do it. Make sure you do that. And then as far as anybody that is currently a gunsmith, whether they went to our school, they went to a brick and mortar, they went to any other school, or they went through an apprenticeship program and they're a gunsmith and they're working in it today, do you have any advice for them?
If you're working as like an apprenticeship and you were trained by somebody else, that's great. You're learning from them. But again, you want something to show people, I know what I'm doing. I've been educated. I've been taught about it. That's why the school's great, because like I said, you get the diploma showing that you did all the curriculum. And if anybody questions what you did, they can go right to the website and it shows every single course you've gone through. So if you're working on their old Ruger, well, you can look, yep, there was a class that they did on Rugers, the older Rugers. Okay, this person knows what they're doing. I can trust this individual. So that's what I'm saying. You got to look at the schools you want to go to and decide what it is you want, and then pick the school that's going to work for what you want. And like I said, I searched out probably 4 different schools and didn't even know about MGS, because all the others were like big names. They were all over the place. And it just so happened, I guess, because I was on my phone looking at gunsmithing schools, I went to Facebook and it popped up, MGS, Modern Gun School. And I started reading it and I was like, well, this is exactly what I'm looking for. This is what I want. And I read it and I said, well, heck. So that's when I applied.
There you go. So I'll wrap it up with a fun question.
Okay.
What's your dream gunsmithing project? And it may not be that somebody brings to you, just something you're like, oh, I want to do that.
That's a good one. Because I like I said, I'm in law enforcement and everything, so I work with a lot of, the ARs and things like that. And I've kind of always wanted and just never would spend the money because they were quite expensive, is a 6.5 Creedmoor. And now because I own my own business and I can buy the parts direct from a distributor and save money, I think that's my next project is I'm going to build myself a 6.5 Creedmoor in the 5.56 platform.
It quickly became one of my favorite calibers. I first tried it out in a hunting rifle, just a simple bolt action. It was actually a Barrett. They're Fieldcraft hunting rifle. Loved it through that, and then I've shot a few of them through the AR platform, and that 6.5 Creedmoor is pretty impressive. You get the ballistics of like a 308, but the recoil of a 223. It's kind of insane. You kind of sit back and go, wait, that did what? It didn't feel like it did that.
Yeah. One of my buddies actually, he's got one, and I shot it a few times. Man, I want this guy.
Well, Ted, man, if you have anything else to add it here.
I would say if you're a vet and you're looking to do this, MGS makes it so easy to use your GI Bill. It was absolutely the easiest thing I ever did. All I had to do was get my letter of eligibility from the VA for my GI Bill, submitted that, and it was like, welcome aboard, you're a student. And next thing I know, I get my big old box with all my books and everything in it. And the course made it really nice because everything was online, and I worked 12, 13 hours a day, and it was nice to come home, jump in the book, do some reading, jump in online, take a test, and submit. And it was instant gratification. After you passed the test or whatever, it told you your grade right then and there. And you could watch your grade point average as you took tests at the bottom. I was just a little shy of honor grad. I didn't quite make honor grad, but that's okay. I think I did pretty well on the courses. I learned quite a bit. And like I said, if you're a vet, and even if you're not a vet, the school I think is very outstanding. Everybody's helpful and friendly. So if you have questions, and even if you're not a student yet and you're thinking about it, call, ask questions. They're more than happy to answer your questions on the phone.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, and I appreciate you coming on and sharing a little bit about your experience. Once again, this is not intended to be an infomercial. This is intended to give you a perspective of what we are as a school from the viewpoint of a grad or a current student. So Ted, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate the work you did while you were a student. Appreciate the work you're doing now. Appreciate your service, both in law enforcement and the military.
Thank you very much.
And we will talk to you later. See you guys.